In the world of K-pop, there are some stars who shine the brightest, but reveal the least. Who has the most mysterious personal life? Who keeps fans guessing with every move? Today, we reveal the 20 most interesting idols in the industry. Stay tuned until the end, because the final names might surprise you. Stray Kids Hyunjin is one of those rare faces who doesn't just walk onto the stage, he appears, carrying an almost cinematic energy. In the world of Gen 4 K-pop, where every spotlight is bright and every moment is broadcast to millions, Yeonjun stands out. It's not just his sharp looks or the way his long hair moves as part of the choreography. It's the quiet mystery behind it all, the sense that there's a story he's choosing not to tell. Fans see the fire in his performances, a mix of soft and intense R&B pop, choreography that cuts across the stage with emotion you can feel, even from the screen. But offstage, he's a different person. Calm, cautious, always just out of reach of the public's curiosity. That tension between presence and distance is what keeps audiences talking. And then there's the fashion. Hyunjin makes every appearance a statement, embracing high fashion with a bold, rule-breaking flair. Long hair, sharp makeup, a lithe figure, he makes genderless style feel not just artistic, but inevitable. It's as if he's creating a world where expression is limitless, and identity is something you draw, not something you define. People are drawn to him because he gives you just enough to make you feel connected, but never enough to solve the puzzle. In a culture obsessed with answers, Hyunjin remains a question kept hidden. And that is what makes his story so unforgettable. Taeyong moves like a silent storm, beautiful, unpredictable, and impossible to look away from. In the world of K-pop, where every smile is rehearsed and every detail is scrutinized, Taeyong stands out. He is the leader of NCT, a core force in SuperM, and the kind of artist who turns the stage into a battlefield. His sharp looks, graceful moves, and avant-garde fashion sense make him less an idol and more a living work of art. But behind that charisma lies one of the most mysterious personal lives in modern K-pop. Taeyong rarely shares anything outside of his music. There are no dramatic confessions, no flashy private moments, just a calm, reserved exterior that leaves millions wondering who he really is. That silence, that restraint, became part of his strength. What makes Taeyong's journey all the more fascinating is how unbelievable it is. When he first started training, people said he lacked talent. He couldn't rap, he couldn't dance, and he had almost no musical background. By common logic, he shouldn't have made it. But then, he did. Through sheer discipline and a strict work ethic, he turned every weakness into an incredible strength. Today, he's at the heart of NCT, defining the group's identity with experimental hip-hop, bold R&B, and fashion choices that blur the lines between masculine and feminine. Taeyong's life remains a closed book, but his art speaks volumes. His story reminds us that mystery isn't empty. Sometimes, that's where greatness is born. Eun-woo moves through the world of K-pop like a quiet constellation. Bright enough to attract attention, yet distant enough to leave 1,000 questions hanging in the air. Fans see his flawless appearance, his polished elegance, his music that whispers more than it reveals, and wonder what stories he chooses to hide. His voice is soft, gentle, and steady, like someone singing behind a door that is only slightly open, allowing us to peek in but never fully step inside. And then there is his style. Clean lines, muted colors, silhouettes created with almost mathematical precision. Never out of place, never too flashy. It's the kind of perfection that makes people curious, even suspicious, about the emotions he hides beneath that perfect exterior. Over the years, online conversations have swirled around him, not to confirm the truth, but to explore the enigma he carries. Why does he guard his personal life so closely? Why does every public appearance look like a meticulously crafted portrait? What is he protecting behind those calm eyes? But perhaps it is precisely that enigma that makes him so unforgettable. Eun-woo invites the world to focus on the art, not the noise, while reminding us that privacy can be a form of strength. His story deepens the K-pop universe, challenging audiences to rethink the boundary between public image and personal truth. And in a world that demands constant exploration, his quiet presence sparks meaningful conversations. Sometimes the most compelling stories are the ones we can never fully resolve. Stray Kids' Felix is the kind of star who shines brightly on stage, but disappears into his own quiet world once the spotlight goes down. Millions watch him unleash raw power through sharp choreography and thunderous rap. But when the music stops, he returns to a calm, measured silence. A silence that only adds to the fascination around him. Fans have long been drawn to the contrast, a fierce performer versus a soft-spoken young man who rarely reveals more than he wants to. His fluid fashion sense, his mix of masculine and feminine energy, and his ever-changing expressions have piqued public curiosity for years. Not statements, not conclusions, just questions. Because Felix never shares much. Not details about his personal life, not about relationships, not stories about his family. It's as if his real world exists behind a locked door that no one is allowed to open. Instead, he communicates through movement and images, never through explanations. Every stage feels like a confession. Every interview, a careful dance around a truth he chooses to keep private. In a culture where idols routinely expose every corner of themselves, Felix guards every inch of his. And perhaps that's why the appeal never fades. His privacy isn't rebellion, it's identity. A quiet refusal to let fame define him. Felix leaves just enough mystery to keep fans curious, but never enough to make them feel like they truly know him. And in that raw, untouched space, his legend only grows. Hongjoong is one of the few K-pop figures who can fill the stage with noise, while still living his real life in complete silence. Among 20 male idols known for their private worlds that fans are curious about, his story stands out with a distinct air of mystery. He moves like someone who understands the power of silence, letting the music speak, the fashion whisper, and the world marvel. His genderless style, his introspective presence, the way he leaves the spotlight the moment a performance ends, all raise countless questions. Some fans find meaning in the bold lines of his clothes, others discover a certain softness in his voice, and many see something compelling in his calm refusal to explain himself. Over the years, rumors about his sexual orientation have circulated, yet Hongjoong never welcomed them, never rejected them. That silence, steady, deliberate, has a strange, magnetic appeal. He becomes a canvas for people to paint their hopes, their fears, and their interpretations. And perhaps that's why his story is so much more than celebrity gossip. It touches something universal. The right to define oneself on one's own terms. Before we go any further, where are you watching from? We welcome input from viewers around the world. Our goal is to share fresh, meaningful stories that evoke empathy and remind us that behind every spotlight is a human being, complex, creative, and indescribably beautiful. In the world of K-pop, where every spotlight highlights both the glitz and the mystery, few figures evoke curiosity like TXT's Beom-gyu. On stage, he shines with a rare emotional electricity, a voice that trembles authentically, movements that are sharp but poetic, eyes that are deep enough to draw you in before you know it. But as soon as the lights go down, he falls into an almost sacred silence, as if he's erected invisible walls that no one is allowed to cross. And that contrast is where the fascination begins. Fans call him TXT's emotional heartbeat. His artistry is heartbreakingly sincere. His style is understated but striking. His presence is subtle but untouchable. His androgynous beauty, his calm gentleness, his refusal to explain himself. All of it has resonated for years. Rumors about his sexuality continue to circulate, not because of what he has said, but because he says so little. His personal life is like a locked room, and each unanswered question becomes fresh fodder for speculation. But perhaps that's the point. Beom-gyu reminds us that mystery isn't a weakness, it's a choice. A shield. A way to exist in a world that wants every corner of you exposed. His silence invites reflection, imagination, and wonder. Sometimes the stories we build around an artist reveal more about us than they do about themselves. His duality, radiant on stage, aloof off stage, keeps fans endlessly intrigued. Every gesture becomes a clue, every expression a secret, and the more he retreats into silence, the more the world leans in, trying to hear the things he never said. If you love the unexplored corners of celebrity life, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow. We're here to bring meaningful conversations to this community, share inspiring and engaging stories, and open up new spaces for connection. In every era of K-pop, there's always an artist who makes audiences sit up, trying to read between the lines. And among today's stars, 17's Hoshi stands at the center of that quiet curiosity. His offstage life is like a locked room, no dating history, no personal details revealed. Not even a hint of how he's looking for love. That silence isn't cold, it's intentional. It feels like part of a larger artistic puzzle that only he can solve. What makes it so fascinating is the way Hoshi shapes his image. While others follow trends, he bends them. His unisex looks, heavy makeup, and genderless style aren't just fashion choices. They're statements, subtle, yet incredibly powerful. Fans noticed that even in group performances where the concept wasn't genderless at all, Hoshi still stepped out with a look entirely his own. Bold, elegant, blurring the lines just enough to spark conversation without ever confirming a narrative. And then there was Spider. More than a solo track, it felt like a portrait. Smooth, fluid, unmistakably genderless. Every movement, every frame deepened the mystery, evoking freedom rather than answering questions. Over the years, this artistic boldness led some observers to speculate about his sexuality, but Hoshi never paid attention to the noise. His silence became a story in itself. As we move on to the next artist on this list, we're left with the same question that's followed Hoshi everywhere. How much are icons defined by what they reveal, and how much by what they choose to keep private? In every corner of the global fandom, there are artists who shine so brightly that their silence becomes part of the legend. BTS's Jungkook is one of them. The world has watched him grow, from a shy teenager chasing his dreams to a world-class artist dominating stadiums. Yet the man behind the spotlight remains largely untouched by the public. And it's that very enigma that keeps millions watching. Fans study his choices the way others read constellations. The bold shifts in fashion, the fluid blend of softness and edginess, the freedom in his music, the easy warmth he shares with his close male friends. Every detail becomes a spark, igniting countless theories about who he really is and what he secretly holds. But Jungkook never adds fuel to the fire. He simply lives, works, creates, and lets the noise fade into the background. When asked, directly or indirectly, he offers only a gentle truth. People will always talk, but I just want to live honestly and focus on what I love. It's not a confession, nor a denial, just a small window, into a young man who chooses honesty over explanation. And somehow, that makes the mystery even more compelling. It turns his private world into a story fans keep returning to, searching for meaning in the spaces he leaves unspoken. As we move forward, this silent riddle becomes a bridge to our next story. Another star, another unanswered question, a reminder of why we're here, to explore the untold, celebrate individuality, and keep the conversation alive. Mark Lee has always carried himself with a quiet mystery, the kind that follows him from the spotlight to late-night interviews where he smiles softly and says almost nothing about his musical life. And perhaps that's why the world is always curious. His soft, neutral image, his genderless fashion sense, the way he switches between rap, pop, and introspective poetry, it all creates a picture that is both open to interpretation and closed off. Fans whisper, forums speculate, and each comeback sparks a new wave of theories about his true self when the cameras stop rolling. But he doesn't deny, doesn't confirm, doesn't reveal even a little. Instead, he lets the silence sit there, calm and purposeful, as if he's accepted the fact that some questions may never be answered. That stillness makes him fascinating. While other idols chase trends or attention, Mark builds his world with restraint, a carefully crafted privacy that's almost rare in K-pop. And the more he protects that world, the more people want to know what's inside. Yet beyond all the hype, there's something quietly powerful about the way he tells his story. He reminds us that identity isn't a puzzle for the public to solve, but a journey that someone chooses to share in their own way. And as we move into the next chapter of the countdown, his presence becomes the perfect bridge. A reminder that every artist on this list holds a different secret, a different shade of truth, waiting to be discovered. In the world of K-pop, there are idols who shine because they're famous, and those who shine because they're unpredictable. WayV's Winwin falls into the latter category, a quiet storm wrapped in elegance. Whenever he steps on stage, his soft lines, graceful steps, and almost surreal fashion sense create an allure that's both familiar and strangely alien. And that distance is where the curiosity begins. Winwin never stirs up rumors, but he never discourages them either. He doesn't talk about dating, never hints at affection, and rarely reveals anything more intimate than what's required on stage. That silence becomes a story in itself. Fans have written it in their minds long before he speaks. Over the years, his gentle demeanor and his androgynous image have fueled countless speculations about his sexuality. But Winwin remains calm, unaffected by the noise, enveloped in an aura of almost deliberate invulnerability. He once said, "Silence is not shame. It's simply choosing not to give the world all that is yours." That simple statement opens a window, not into his love life, but into how he protects his inner world in an industry that tries to uncover every detail. And as we delve deeper into this video, exploring 20 K-pop stars whose private lives remain shrouded in mystery, Winwin's story becomes a perfect starting point. A reminder that sometimes what fascinates us most is not the answer, but the space left unsaid. Kim Taeyang has always carried himself with a silence that speaks louder than words. In a world where every K-pop idol's every move is analyzed frame by frame, Taeyang acts differently, calm, cautious, almost untouchable. Fans call him an open mystery, a man who reveals just enough to pique curiosity but never enough to satisfy it. And that's exactly why his name has been speculated about for years. His gentle closeness with his male friends, his soft lines in fashion, the classic outfits he wears like a second skin. These choices have led some to question his sexuality, but Taehyung never confirms, never denies. He lets the world stare, quietly observing from behind a calm gaze. That silence doesn't distance people, it brings them closer. He keeps his inner circle small, a fortress of trust surrounding a deeply introverted heart. Taeyang rarely talks about love, rarely shares about his private life. Yet when he steps into the spotlight, every gesture is intentional. A look, a note in his jazz-tinged voice. The way he takes the stage is both elegant and mysterious. He has just enough to make you feel something without revealing what that something really is. His artistry adds to his appeal. His warm, dark vocals, the tenderness of R&B, the blend of past and present in an old soul style, all paint a portrait of a man who doesn't want to be defined. Taeyang isn't hiding, he's choosing to protect the parts of himself that fame can't touch. And as we move on to the next story, we continue to explore the private worlds behind public faces, each shaped by a mix of talent, pressure, and unspoken secrets. There's something undeniable about the boys Juyeon, a quiet charisma shrouded in mystery. In the world of K-pop, where every gesture is scrutinized and every smile makes headlines, Juyeon chooses silence, and that silence only brings the world closer. Fans have spent years trying to decode him, building theories from the smallest clues. A soft look on stage, gentle touch with a member, a fashion choice that blurs gender lines. Every moment raises questions he never answers, turning his private life into a puzzle no one can solve. What draws people in isn't scandal, it's contrast. Juyeon moves like a storm wrapped in silk. His androgynous image, sharp yet gentle, feels almost cinematic. In reveal, he exudes seductive elegance. In the stealer, he shifts into a mischievous confidence. Maverick highlights his rebellious streak, and Roar is pure, explosive charisma. 4 performances, 4 different shades of the same mystery. No repetition, no explanation. Just Juyeon, being Juyeon. Perhaps that's why the curiosity never fades. His genderless, couture, almost editorial style, all of it invites interpretation without ever confirming anything. And in a culture that craves clarity, Juyeon offers something even rarer, the right to remain true to one's identity. This isn't a story about labels, it's about the power of mystery, the beauty of being unabashedly yourself, and how a quiet artist can open important conversations about identity, freedom, and authenticity. Juyeon doesn't need to speak for people to feel something real. And maybe that is his greatest influence. In every generation of K-pop, there's an artist who feels like a riddle waiting to be solved. And for Gen 4, that mystery is TXT's Yeonjun. Cameras adore him, the stage bends to his charisma, but once he's out of the spotlight, he becomes almost invisible. Fans search for clues, but Yeonjun keeps his private world locked away, like a sealed diary drifting just out of reach. He rarely talks about love, relationships, or the people closest to him. It's not avoidance, it's intentional. He draws a clear, transparent line between the life the world sees and the life he protects. And that tension, the contrast between the confident performer and the quiet soul inside, is what makes millions wonder, who is Yeonjun when no one sees? His fashion only adds to the appeal. His unisex style, his bold lines, his fearless gender identity. Yeonjun makes every appearance a statement without ever saying a word. And because he refuses to define himself, audiences fill the silence with endless theories, questions, and fascination. Not gossip, but curiosity about an artist who seems to exist between genres, one who rewrites the image of the modern male idol. In a world obsessed with exposure, Yeonjun's choice to remain private is almost a rebellion. It gives his story weight, depth, and a touch of cinematic tension. He reminds us that mystery is powerful, And sometimes, the most compelling characters are the ones who let their art speak louder than answers. In the fast-paced world of K-pop, few figures evoke the quiet charisma of ATEEZ Wooyoung. His story is unassuming. It lingers in the silence between performances, in the contrast between the person on stage and the person who fades into the shadows when the lights dim. Fans around the world watch him dance with almost explosive confidence, a sensual charisma that lights up the arena. But off-stage, he's gentle, warm, almost tender. It's this contrast that makes people curious, wondering who he really is when the cameras stop rolling. Wooyoung rarely shares his personal life, and in an industry built on the illusion of transparency, that silence becomes a statement. His wit invites people in, yet his boundaries hold them at a careful distance. Over the years, his mix of versatile fashion, subtle emotional depth, and refusal to explain himself has led fans to create countless theories about his identity. Not confirmations, just curiosity, whispered questions that have grown into global conversations. And perhaps that's why Wooyoung stands out. He represents the kind of mystery that still exists in a world where everything seems exposed. His story reminds us that some truths belong only to the people who live them, and that the beauty of privacy can be just as captivating as any spotlight. 14.4. And yet, there's something intentional about the way he carries that mystery. Quiet, steady, unconcerned. A presence that doesn't need explanation because the silence already speaks for itself. Wooyoung challenges the notion that artists must reveal everything. He reminds us that privacy can be powerful too. And maybe that choice, that calm defiance, is exactly what makes him unforgettable. SF9's Taeyang has always exuded a kind of beauty, soft, elegant, almost cinematic. And perhaps that's why, for years, whispers have followed him around like a shadow. Fans point to his satin wardrobe, his graceful stage presence, the way his voice molds emotion into something almost fragile. To some, his beauty feels ethereal. To others, it becomes evidence of the rumors they thought they had solved. But Taeyang never indulges. He doesn't deny it, he doesn't explain it. He simply retreats into his music, letting the world talk while he moves silently. And that silence is powerful. It turns curiosity into obsession. Every gentle smile, every affectionate look at a member on stage becomes a moment the internet dissects frame by frame. Is he a willful enigma, or is he just a man protecting what fame can never protect? His privacy. What makes his story so compelling isn't speculation, it's the contrast. A performer who is emotional on stage, breathing life and color into his choreography, but when the lights dim, he becomes enigmatic, almost untouchable. That contrast creates a story fans can't stop trying to figure out. A puzzle with no final piece. And perhaps that's why Taeyang's presence never fades. The world loves mystery, but it respects a man who knows what to show and what to keep to himself. So, what do you think of today's stories? Share your thoughts with us. We're here to bring fresh and meaningful conversations, stories that spark curiosity, inspire connection, and keep this community alive with wonder. MONSTA X's Kihyun has always exuded mystery, the kind that draws viewers in without ever revealing his true nature. Fans often describe him as gentle yet aloof, soft-spoken yet hard to ignore. Perhaps it's this mix of kindness and quiet privacy that sparks discussions on forums and comment sections around the world. Whenever he shares a quiet moment with a member or shows a rare tender expression on stage, the internet explodes with speculation. Not accusations, not conclusions, just curiosity about a man who rarely lets anyone into his inner world. His appearance is equally compelling. soft lines, clean shapes, and a modern, minimalist style that feels almost weightless. It all gives him a subtle, androgynous beauty. Unobtrusive, unintentional, but elegant in its own right. That beauty, combined with his soulful voice, makes people wonder what stories he's choosing not to tell. Is he hiding something? Or is he simply protecting a fragile private world that can't be revealed? Kihyun's appeal lies in that silence, the unanswered questions, the sense that there's a deeper story hidden just under the spotlight, waiting but never fully revealed. And that mystery inspires fans in more ways than one, reminding some to respect their own boundaries and encouraging others to embrace the beauty of authentic life, even when the world is still guessing. And as we continue to explore untold stories like his, we want this space to feel like a meaningful conversation, where each story opens a new door, brings something new, exciting, and inspiring to everyone. WayV and NCT's 10 has always had a quiet charisma, the kind that doesn't stand out at first glance, yet somehow draws every eye in the room. Fans around the world describe him as an enigma wrapped in movement. And perhaps that's why for years, whispers and rumors about his personal life have followed him like a gentle echo. Never harmful, never confirmed, just curiosity born from the aura of someone who refuses to fit into any mold. On stage, 10 becomes something almost supernatural. Every line of his body, every breath, feels like a message he chooses to leave unsaid. His art is abstract, symbolic, emotive, as if he communicates with color and movement rather than words. Off stage, he protects his privacy, speaking softly, choosing silence when others seek attention. That contrast only deepens the intrigue. Who is he when the lights go out? His style only adds to the mystery. 10 wears fashion the way painters wear paint. Genderless silhouettes, bold cuts, unexpected shapes. He blurs boundaries not to provoke, but to express. It's freedom, pure and simple. And because of that freedom, some fans have begun to wonder about the parts of his life he keeps private. But the truth is this: 10's power lies not in his enigma, but in his courage to live as an artist first. His music is like a diary written in metaphor. Experimental pop filled with emotion and fragments of a rarely revealed inner world. Each note feels intentional, each visual overflowing with meaning. Every performance becomes a small universe where he shows what words cannot hold. And maybe that's why people are drawn to him. 10 reminds us that identity is vast, personal, and beautifully complex, that some parts of who we are don't need to be explained, only expressed. In every generation of K-pop, there are artists whose presence transcends their fame, and BTS's RM is one of the few who turns curiosity into an enigma worth exploring. On the surface, he seems calm, almost inscrutable, carrying a quiet confidence that draws people in, but reveals very little. For years, fans around the world have whispered theories about his personal life, wondering who he is when the lights dim and the music stops. RM has always embraced a genderless fashion style, fluid shapes, and a sense of artistic freedom that never feels constrained by any framework. His lyrics oscillate between tenderness and rebellion, between vulnerability and strength. And with each creative choice, the rumors grow louder, but so does the respect. He never confirms, never denies. Instead, he lets his art speak first. He once said that every person has layers, and none of them should be limited by anyone else's expectations. That belief shaped the line he drew between the world stage and his inner world. Kim Namjoon the human remained sheltered, quiet, purposeful, while RM the artist continued to grow, inspired by books, paintings, and the complexity of identity itself. Perhaps that's why he captivates millions, not because he reveals everything, but because he reveals just enough. honest without being showy, vulnerable without surrendering. In a culture that demands answers, RM reminds us that mystery isn't a weakness, it's a form of strength. And when we explore stories like his, we create a space where curiosity becomes connection, and where every voice is welcome to join the conversation. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey into the mysterious, captivating worlds of K-pop idols. Every artist has their own private moments, their untold stories, and it's these unspoken parts that make them truly unforgettable. If this video gave you new insights, sparked your curiosity, or made you see your favorite idols in a different light, share it with your friends and fellow fans, because great stories are meant to be experienced together. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another deep dive into the lives and artistry of the stars we all admire. We'd also love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell us which idol's story intrigued you the most, or share your thoughts about the power of mystery, privacy, and identity in K-pop. This isn't just a video, it's a space for connection, discussion, and celebration of creativity and individuality. So stay curious, keep exploring, and remember, sometimes the stories we never fully uncover are the ones that stay with us the longest. We can't wait to see you in the next video, where more untold tales are waiting to be discovered.